Still confused about this subconscious brain thing? I'll give you some examples of where it served you. Does anybody here remember like a familiar car ride? Where you remember getting into the vehicle in the morning, and then you remember arriving at the destination, and you have no recollection of how you got here? That was the subconscious brain that took the drive. Like, don't worry, if anything unusual happened, conscious brain would grab the wheel, you'd be back in control in a nanosecond. It's like our human autopilot. Without it, we'd be exhausted 30 seconds after we wake up for the quantity of decisions the brain needs to make. Still confused about the subconscious brain? See it as nothing more than a little voice inside your head. That's all it is, a little voice inside your head. And if you're sat there right now, thinking that you haven't got a little voice inside your head, that's the little voice telling you you haven't got a little voice. We all have one. Learning to speak to other people's is what can give you a fair advantage in almost any given scenario. Now, the book is littered with quick words, with simple illustrations and simple examples of where you can put it into practice. But I think it was Mark Twain that at least was most famous for saying it. Mark Twain said, "If I had more time, I'd have written a shorter letter." See, brevity is challenging. It's one of the reasons that book has spread so far and wide is because of what we leave out, not because of what we add in. So I figured I'd take some of the time that we have today to breathe insights into this conversation that aren't in the book, that aren't in that conversation, and help you maybe have a thinking framework that could make you more influential and persuasive in every conversation in your life. Would that be useful, yes or no? See, if you're looking to be more influential, more persuasive, all you're looking to be able to introduce to your conversations is three critical ingredients. The first, as we look at this together, is one called curiosity. Been talked about a ton today. The second is one called empathy. The third is one called courage. And I know what you're thinking. Nothing that new there, Phil. These are words I've heard before. But why specifically those three words? And more importantly, why specifically in that order? Well, let's start with the curiosity piece. What happens if you start a conversation from a position that is not curious? What are you showing up as? Judgmental, strong I know best mentality. Ever had a conversation with somebody with that strong I know best mentality? Where they're so sure of themselves that you're like, really now, huh? Isn't it ironic that high levels of certainty actually create high levels of uncertainty? If our goal is to create certainty, the tool to get there is to start with curiosity. Why? Because it earns you something magical. Context. Now, there is not a conversation in the land that you do not want to insert your content to. But if you insert your content before you earn their context, you made a noisy decision noisier. I need to check in on something with all of you very quickly. Is now a good time to buy a house, yes or no? Is now a good time to sell a house, yes or no? Stop it, all of you. This is the problem. The answer is it depends. We love that it depends. If it didn't depend, we didn't need you. For some people it's heck yes, and for others it's never. No, stop it. But our job is to be able to help articulate what it depends on. We've been growing up in this industry thinking that our role is to be knowledge brokers around our marketplaces and our expertise and how smart we are about things defines our value. Stop it. The advice monster is stealing your lunch because we're showing up and throwing up, trying to prove about how smart we are about something, and we are missing the mark on repeat. I'll let you into a secret. I don't normally get the chance to share this story because I'm embarrassed about it. And rewind a couple of years and I'm back at my house in England. And at that point in time, my then 17-year-old daughter comes to me for advice. Dad's in the room, 17-year-old daughter coming to you for advice. It's like, it's a good thing. At least that's what I thought she came to me for. And then these are the words that left my mouth, man. Oh. What I said to her, I said, when I was in your shoes. And as the words left my mouth, I looked down at her feet and realized I was the least qualified person in the planet to give any advice. I'd never wear footwear that had resembled that. So I shut up, remained strategically curious for a short period of time of around 23 minutes, during which, at the end of that conversation, she said, "I think I know what I want to do, Dad." She figured it out all by herself. Here's a challenge for every one of you in the room. Could you live an entire day of your life, full 24-hour window, delivering approximately zero advice? None. Nothing. Doesn't mean no advice received. It means no advice given. And you watch how it changes the flavor of conversations when you can strategically string together a series of well-crafted questions for people to self-discover that now is the right time, you're the right choice, why now matters. Because success in selling anything has nothing to do with embellishing the options. It's actually about destroying the reasons of why they wouldn't. And when people realize they've got no good reason to not buy, no good reason to not sell, no good reason to not work with you, they will choose you. When you're curious for long enough, you understand their context, it dances you towards that next ingredient called empathy. And empathy is a great word, but it's often misused. I think very many people confuse it with sympathy, which is different. And the best definition I've ever heard for the word empathy comes from an author friend of mine by the name of John Acuff. And John Acuff defines empathy as to care about what the people you care about. I can't do better than that. So I'm borrowing John's definition. Who is the person you care about more than anybody else in the world? If you're in any doubt, remember the high school photo, 300 faces wide? What was the first face you looked for? That'll be you, and only you. If you are the most important person in your life, who is the most important person in somebody else's life? I had somebody get mad at me at this from an audience. They're like, "I'm not the most important person in my life." They really meant that their kids were the most important people in their life. She said it so strong. She's like, "I am not the most important person in my life. My children are the most important people in my life." And I said, whose children? She shuffled back to her chair. We're hardwired for this. It's not mean. We wouldn't be alive today if we didn't look after ourselves first. We have inbuilt fight or flight to be able to do that. So if we are going to put somebody else's needs first, it has to be a choice. We have to decide to do it. I am 100% certain that most of you in this room love yourself a little bit too much. And a quick audit of some of your social media accounts, and there's a lot of evidence out there that the Me My Eye show is for real. One of the simplest things that you can do to demonstrate empathy at a highest level is to remove the least influential word from the planet from your vocabulary. Would you like to know the least influential word on the planet? The word I. Now look at your last 100 sent emails, your last 100 sent text messages. Look at the content that you create. I was hoping, I wanted to share with you, I believe, I think. Good for you. If you can make a simple shift of swapping your I's and your me's and your my's to you's, you demonstrate greater levels of empathy. I also need to share something else really important. Did you know that nobody in the world wants to buy a house? Did you also know that nobody ever has wanted to sell a house? There are no children that are 7 years old that are thinking, "I cannot wait to grow up and get myself a 30-year institutionalized mortgage that has me financially responsible towards an organization that I don't know, like, or trust. Cannot wait to be able to pay 3 times more than the purchase price for something that's already overpriced over a lifetime. That sounds fun." Nobody wants what you've got. They want something very different. People want to buy a house because. People want to sell a house because. If you do not know what that because is, you are not very helpful. And there's a strong possibility that a computer could do just about as good a job at all the other things that you do. But your deep knowledge and understanding of the thing that's driving the decision is what makes you more helpful than anybody else. It's the part that's fundamentally human and cannot disappear. Is understanding the real reason that's driving the decision that somebody's being asked to make. Think about every client that you're working with right now and you think you're helping them because they've told you they want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home that is at this square footage in this neighborhood at this price point. And you think that's what they're looking for? That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for that because. And if you don't know that, you are not as helpful as you could be. We've grown up in this kind of business where I won the listing, I won the sale, I won the client, I won the argument. If you're the winner, what is the other person? Who wants to be in a business of creating losers? It shouldn't be us versus them. It should be us versus it. Now, if we don't know what it is, we're not truly relatable. We're not on the same page. We're not selling from the same position. We're not helping people achieve given outcomes. And this shows up massively in the way that you, my friends, operate in the moments of success that you cheer with your customers. There's a point in time where you give client gifts, correct? What is one of the moments that you often give clients? It's at the... You're like, congratulations! They're like, I'm so fucking scared. Did we make the right choice? I mean, are we going to get all this work? Can we really afford the payment? And you're like, here's a chopping board. Congratulations. We missed the moment because we didn't really know what was driving the decision. And I'm going to compare your business to a business that you are almost identical to. Would you like to know a business you're almost identical to? It is the wedding dress retail business. It's basically the same business structure. And if you owned a wedding dress retail business, when would be the moment you celebrate the transaction? When she says yes to the dress and the credit card gets swiped, you're like, cha-ching, today was a good day. Who in this room has worn a wedding dress? This will be interesting. Was the day you chose and paid for the dress the most important day? Wasn't the most important day, but it was the day that the vendor decided to be able to celebrate the success of the transaction. This is what we do at the closing table. For those of you that have worn a wedding dress, when would be a more important day to celebrate? See, if they changed the customer experience to celebrate on the wedding day, they would have a more empathetic customer experience, yes or yes? Without a doubt. But is that the most important day for when the value is really appreciated on that product transaction? Or is there a day that comes even further? See, from the interviews that I've done, the conversations I've had, I found out there's a day that comes even later in the transaction. It's when she gets to see herself in the dress without all of the anxiety of the big day and looks at the photos and is like, dang, I look smoking hot. I made the right choice. What difference would it make in customer experience if a wedding dress retail business was empathetic enough to say that I'm going to carry through my relationship on the delivery of this promise right through to the point that you've crystallized that this is delivered upon its promise? We don't do that, do we? We run to the closing table, say today's a happy day, even though it's a day that sucks in most sets of circumstances, right? It is stress-filled. And then what we do is we check in 2 weeks later and be like, how you doing? Just want to see if there's anything we can do to help. Like there was last week. Anyhow, we put you on our newsletter. We're going to stay in touch. You're going to love it. You're on our drip campaigns now. We're going to drip all over you for months. You're going to be soaking. And we think that that is creating a customer experience. We need to be better. And the bar is so consistently mediocre, the ability to be better is so much more. And what we have with technology right now is to be able to use it to be able to be more human and more personal in our approach, to understand what's going on. Please, please, pretty please, stop checking in on people. Stop offering to be helpful. If you do not know what help looks like, you are not helpful.